6. Hello there. How's it going, fam? Look what I just found. That's right, fam. Just found this. Should we try it out? Oh, wow. Less than 5 ingredients with a scan me for a free airdrop. Here's the magic part, fam. Got it right here. Give it a go. Whew. That was amazing. Refreshing. All the salts you need in your electrolyte premix. Definitely check out Crypto Rush now. It even has a bonus creatine. That's right, got to build those strong muscles, help with all that muscle recovery. Crypto Rush gives you the rush that you need to propel yourself throughout the day. Crypto Fam Radio, I'm your host Mountain Dew. Let's go get some Crypto Rush now. Definitely. So Lewis, would you mind just like introducing yourself a little bit, who you are, what you do, a little bit about your background, even before you created the Hiney coin on Solana? Thanks, fam.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. So my name's Lewis in IRL. I've been, I have a 9-to-5 job. I've been in the IT world since the late 90s at the height of the .com boom. So I just aged myself there a little bit for you. I grew up playing baseball and sports. I played baseball in college, worked for some pretty big companies in IT. I worked for General Dynamics. I worked for IBM for a long time. Now I'm with a smaller company and I'm in sales management right now. I am married. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Brittany. We have a 2-year-old son and we have a 19-year-old daughter. So life is kind of hectic. But yeah, I grew up in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. I didn't move too far away back in 2005. I moved down to the beach just to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle. I'm kind of more of a laid back kind of mindset. So the beach was perfect for me. It's about 3 hours away. So I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia now, and love it. I just surfed this morning, got in a little surf, got a little tennis and gym, and got a little surfing, and now here I am with you. So happy Friday.
Happy Friday, TGIF. Man, I absolutely love that, Lewis. Sounds like you spend a lot of activity getting outside, touching grass, which I absolutely love. I actually did a quick 10-miler today. Well, I felt like it was quick, right? I'm during marathon training right now for this Vegas marathon. But I just really love talking to people who are active in their lifestyle, active in what they do and who they connect with. I really resonate with those people. And I love that we're in such alignment when it comes to being active. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do. I'm curious, I want to go back to your sales management role, what you work with your 9-to-5. Have you always wanted to pursue sales, or is this like something that you kind of just fell into?
I just kind of fell into. I was more on the engineering side of the house. So, I was kind of like network engineering, systems engineering. Then I got into kind of more project management, and then I became an IT director. And then I got kind of into this pre-sales role where I was doing more kind of, pre-sales engineering, if you will. But it was quasi-sales because you were in front of customers and trying to sell them technical stuff. But then, I had some folks actually at IBM. They were like, hey, you can make a lot more money just being in sales. And so I was like, okay, well, that sounds pretty good, right? And so I had an opportunity, and I've never looked back, right? So I came to the dark side, is what they say back then. But yeah, so I've been fortunate because I've worked with a lot of big Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies along the way. So I think that's probably the best part of my job is you get to kind of understand how these businesses and big organizations like the Ford Motor Companies, Dow Chemical, huge companies, right, that have been around forever. And they face a lot of the same challenges that everybody else does when it comes to IT needs and requirements. So, that's kind of how I got into the sales. And now I'm in sales management. So I have teams across, from the state of Virginia all the way down to Florida to the Carolinas and then across out to Texas. So I have teams that I manage now So I don't get really into the day to day with customers as much as I used to, but now it's more babysitting, right? Putting out fires, but
Right. I
the
was
good
gonna
and the bad.
say, so it sounds like you're more in a leadership role with sales, right? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
mostly what
exactly.
sales
Yeah,
management is? So you're just like delegating or assessing or improving and making
that's
sure
right.
everyone's doing their jobs.
That's right. Everybody's got to meet quotas, right? In sales, you got quotas, and you
Yeah,
got numbers you got to achieve, and you
yeah.
got forecasting, you got pipeline, you got all that stuff. So yeah, it's not easy, right? It's a
Mm,
different, sales versus kind of being a salaried employee is a
right.
different type of world, right? There's a
Mm,
lot more maybe stress. I think I call it kind of good stress, good grind. I enjoy it, but it's not for everybody, right?
yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I'm more of in a leadership capacity now. So it's
Love
fun.
that.
It's fun. The best part about it is you get to mentor people, right, and help them
Mm.
kind of grow. All right, and so that's probably the best part of my job now.
I love that. I love that, Lewis. Thank you so much for sharing. And I want to hit a little more on the leadership role or the aspect that you're working within your own job. And how does that apply to your everyday life just as a person? Because, being a leader, this is something that we always talk about, an entrepreneur, in entrepreneurship and our every, day to day, when we're talking about being a man of your household, and just like, have you always seen yourself as a leader? And if not, like, what did it take you to get there, as you were growing up or as you were, becoming who you are today?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think anybody necessarily says to themselves, "Hey, I'm a really good leader, and I should be in this capacity or this role." Right? I think
Right.
everybody has kind of different personalities and different
Mm,
experiences along the way, right? Whether it's how you grew up or who you're surrounded by yourself with, or and then when you do get into your career, what you learn and just kind of understanding like what you want to do in life, and all those things kind of come into play. But for me, I've never really been a loud kind of cheerleader type of person when it comes to leadership. I've always kind of just done what I needed to do, and I always refer to my sports background, right? I always excelled in sports. I had pretty much a full ride playing baseball, and I was always one of the better players on the team, right? But I was never that guy that's gonna like, get up there and pump people up and have this amazing speech, right?
right.
I just kind of went out there and just really just try to show people how to do it, right? So that means getting up earlier in the mornings, practicing hard, right? Putting in all the extra work and effort that people don't necessarily see, kind of behind the scenes, right? And
Mm,
then going out and executing on the field, and it shows up on the field, right? So from the results. And so that's how I've always led people. And then, when you get into the kind of, corporate world, if you will, you find yourself, at least for me, I had a lot of jobs along the way, right? So I've been in the workforce for a long time. And so I've
mm,
had a lot of jobs, which means I've had a lot of managers. I've had a lot of people in leadership positions that have managed me or my teams. And so
mhm.
you kind of understand like, okay, well, that's a good style. That's maybe not a great style, right? We've had a lot of those type of people. And so you kind of get an idea of what really works. And for me, I've always been like, hey, I just want to kind of create an environment. First off, it's got to be a good environment for everybody to work in and be, I'm all about culture and, good environments and all that. But I want to give people just the opportunity to do what to take advantage of their skill sets, right? And then work on whatever their weaknesses are too. And again, I'm just trying to create a framework for people, not necessarily dictating at all. I think like the micromanagement and the dictating, maybe it's good for some positions, but for me, I've never been like that. I want people to kind of take advantage of their skills and their strengths, and then work on their weaknesses, and I can kind of help them do that. So I don't know. That's kind of a long-winded answer, but
No, it's good. It's good,
yeah,
Lewis. I love that. I've always seen leaders as they lead by action, right?
yeah,
Not just by
yeah,
words. And so through
exactly.
your actions, it sounds like, you've shown up and you followed through and people resonate with your actions and they want to follow leaders, right? So this is what makes great leaders leaders. So absolutely love that. And then I've also heard in church too, they always talk about servant leadership, right? Being a servant,
Oh yeah,
going out, serving others. And I really
100%.
like how that is defined with leadership as well, because I've always seen myself in a service role, you know, and becoming more of a leader within my own self and with my own family. You know, it's just something that's not like, oh, I want to go be a leader. It's like, it's almost like put upon us through the actions that we do, and we show up for the people that we're trying to be intentional with, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's just like, just put upon us in a lot of ways through those actions, right? So, but no, I absolutely love that. Tell me a little bit about, if you wouldn't mind going back to, I guess, your childhood, about like where you grew up and kind of just like how that redefined you into basically who you are today, right? Like, what was kind of the process? How was little Lewis growing up? Were you like the firstborn, youngest? You know, how did you connect with other friends? You know, like how did it kind of morph you into what you do today? Because I've always been told, and this is true from I think a lot of people, what the activities that you do in your early adolescence to like high school day is literally the same thing you do for the rest of your life, you
Yeah.
know? So I'm really curious of like, just like, yeah, give me a story about Lewis's childhood life and how that changed you to who you are today.
Yeah, growing up was tough, right? So first off, my mom is Korean, my dad is Italian American, and my dad was in the military. He was in the army. He
Okay.
was stationed in, Camp Humphreys, Seoul, Korea,
Okay.
and that's where he met my mom. And he got her pregnant, and then had me. I was the first one, but 5 minutes later was my brother. So I actually have an identical twin brother.
Wow.
Yeah, and he
That's
he lives in
cool.
Singapore these days.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, and so I also have a younger sister. She's about 2 years, 2.5 years younger than me and my brother. But when we got basically stationed here in the States and moved around, my dad got out of the army. My mom and dad got divorced, and my mom made the hard decision of saying, well, I think, because she didn't really have, she didn't know the culture. She didn't speak very good English, if any, at that time. And
Yeah.
she just decided that it would be best that the two boys go with my dad, and Melissa, my sister, would stay with her. And so that's what they agreed upon. It wasn't as amicable as I'm making it sound. It was pretty ugly. But this was probably around 5 years old, and so my dad had custody of me and my brother. We ended up eventually moving up to Northern Virginia, where my grandparents had lived. And yeah, it was tough growing up because my dad he didn't have he didn't make a very good living after he got out of the military. It was tough,
Mm.
and we grew up very poor. It's funny. Like one of the places we grew up was a place called 1224 Easy Street. Easy Street, right? But it wasn't easy, right? I
Oof.
remember from third to fifth grade. We didn't have any running hot water. We
Oof.
didn't have any central AC or heating.
Wow.
Me and my brother would have to walk to the Handy Dandy Market in Woodbridge, Virginia, and we would have to go get these like a 10-gallon thing of kerosene. We had a broomstick, and we would put the jug of kerosene and walk up there in the freezing cold, and then walk back with it full, because so that's how we warmed up the house during the winters, right? And but back then we were just kind of young, right? We just kind of went with it, and it was just what it was. And but even though it was tough, again, my brother and I, we did excel at sports. So it wasn't until about maybe third grade, we were like 7 or 8 years old, is when we started playing sports. Started playing baseball and football. And I think my dad realized that we were pretty athletic and very coordinated. And so that kept us preoccupied, right? And we went on to obviously middle school. We bounced around a lot. And then in high school, we found our way a little bit. But even in high school, there was a lot of drama, right? I mean, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of physical abuse.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a healthy environment growing up. It just really wasn't. And financially, again, there's a lot of stress, right? When you have a lot of financial obligations, to support a family, and those things aren't being met, and it just creates a bad environment. So yeah, we grew through that. Grew up through that. And then, you know, actually eventually my dad did remarry. We had a stepmom growing up, and they got divorced in high school. I remember me and my brother were walking back from baseball practice, and all my stepmom stuff was on the lawn. And from that point on, basically, me and my brother were on our own. My dad was like, "Hey, I can't afford to take care of the situation," and you know, we were probably 16, you know, years old at the time. And so my brother ended up moving into, you know, a friend on the baseball team, and they kind of took him in, and I was bouncing around. I was just kind of sleeping on couches and cars, you know, whatever I could do at
Wow.
16 years old. And you know, it sounds actually kind of fun, and maybe it
Right.
was back then, but you know, looking back on it now, you know, I have a family. I'm just like, man, I can't imagine, you know, having that for my kids, right, and putting them in that situation. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know, it taught me a lot how to grow up and you know, and kind of take care of yourself. But eventually that family that took my brother in took me in as well. Now keep in mind, they had my older brother Josh, I call him my older brother, and you know, three other, you know, girls, right, younger girls, right? So Casey and Jesse and Kelly. And
Mhm.
so it was a busy household. And you know, and eventually they actually ended up adopting us. So they adopted us, and we, yeah, in high school we became adopted. And
Cool.
and then, you know, we went to college. We were fortunate to get, you know, baseball scholarships to play college.
Wow. So you're
Yeah,
a
and
really good athlete then.
yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
amazing.
luckily, right? Because again, I didn't have any money. I mean, so
Right.
I mean, back then you had a, you know, you could apply for financial aid. It was a little bit easier
Right.
than probably nowadays,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so you know, I played baseball in college, and I graduated, and then I started my career again at the height of the dot-com boom in the late
Yeah.
90s. And you know, but I think a lot of those hardships, it sounds kind of rough, and it was, right,
Yeah.
looking back on it, it was
Yeah.
tough. It was, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna sugarcoat it. It was tough. It was tough
Mhm.
growing up. We didn't have, you know, you could see my friends, like they had all the nice things, all the kind of name brand clothes and shoes and all that stuff, but we didn't have that, and it was a little bit embarrassing, especially when you get to high school. But you
Right.
know,
You
luckily
want
me
to
and my
fit
brother,
in.
yeah, we just started working for ourselves and just try to
Yeah.
make money so we can kind of keep up with the Joneses back then in high school. But
Right.
yeah, but you know, eventually it worked out. You know, it allowed us to kind of, you know what it takes to make it out here, and make you more resilient and thicker skinned, and just be more independent. So, you know, I think that's what I take away from it, you know, because, you know, especially like the generations after, right? You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, make fun of any generations, but, you know, it's just, it seems like it's a little easier from an, you know, just all the things that are out there in life, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean, you know, everybody, I'm not saying it because there are people that still struggle. I mean, and
Oh
struggle way
yeah.
worse than what I had. And
Right.
so, you know, and so I don't want to knock any of those people, but yeah, it was tough growing up. But again, I think it kind of shaped on who I was, what I wanted to do in life. I knew that I did not want to grow up that way as an
Mm.
adult. I knew that when I had a family, I wanted to be committed to my family, and be there for my family and take care of them and support them. And so that's where I'm at today.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Lewis. I was going to go back to the thread of sports because I feel like sports is such a reoccurring topic in your life and activity. You know, you were just playing tennis a little earlier, getting outside, and you're very active, right? And this is kind of the main theme I feel in your life, even when you're a kid, you know, playing baseball, getting that baseball scholarship too. So sports means a lot to you, it sounds like, and I
It,
really love that.
yeah, it does. I mean, it was our life, and quite frankly, it was a distraction from all of the crappy things that were going on in our lives, right? I mean, it really was. And you know, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have sports, right? I didn't have kind of
Mhm.
that team camaraderie and just that ability to focus on something that was outside of the noise that was going on in our household. You know, again, it was a good distraction. It really, and you know, we were good at it too, so that helped, right? So
It
um,
does tend to help.
yeah, it
It
helped.
makes you
But
enjoy it more.
right, but you know how it is, like growing up playing sports, and then you go to college, and you know, playing
Mhm.
college sports is not an easy feat, right? You know, you got, and especially for me, I was an environmental science bio major, so I was in lab all the time, and you know, it was
Right.
it was tough, right? You try to juggle all that stuff, but again, it teaches you what it takes to be good at something, you have to commit, you have to get up early in the morning, you have to practice, you have to really do all those kind of intangibles to really go above and beyond to execute whatever you're trying to do. So that really is what taught me, and that's why I'm still active today, right? I know it's and I'll be active until the day I die, right? I mean, especially the older you get, you got to even be more active because you're, you know, I'm starting to feel it for sure.
No, don't say that.
Well, I mean, yeah, you just
You're not
again,
that old.
if you go like, you know, a few days or a week or, you know, whatever,
Mm,
it's just you start feeling it the older you get. So you got to stay
yeah.
active. It's very important for the mind, the body, and the soul, right, and the spirit. So I think it's important for all of us to get out there, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be like some tennis or, you know, surfer or base, whatever. You can just get out there and walk and run, ride bikes, whatever, right? Just be
Something.
active. Get out there and be active. Be healthy.
Yeah, we have bodies for a reason, right? We're just
That's
not
right.
going to be glued to our screens the whole day and just get that sitting motion. You know, sitting is like the next killer, right? So I
Yeah,
hate sitting. I actually have a standing desk that I
I do
use
too. I
at
do too. Although I'm
times.
sitting right now, but
I know,
I do
me
have a
too.
stand. Yeah.
But this is the desk that I'm currently on that I can stand if I want to. But I'm just saying, I just vary. Like I said, I did 10 miles this morning, so I'm kind of tired.
Yeah.
I'm being
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Part of the training. So I'm sitting, but usually I am standing, right? So, but no, I absolutely love that. And I was going to go back to sports and about how it builds discipline, right?
Oh,
This is a word I was going to
yeah.
come back to in your college times, and being forced to wake up early so you can
Yeah.
get the things you need to do
Yeah.
done. And this
That's
is
right.
something that I feel like, you know, other generations haven't quite figured out yet. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's a big reason why they're the way they are and why they seem so helpless or confused or like, what am I going to do with my life? What do I do today? You know, it's
Right.
like, and this is something that I had to learn even for myself, you know, growing up too, because not to say, you know, I didn't have it easy as well. I came from a military background. I was a military brat growing up. I actually did ROTC for a while. And then I
Nice.
dropped out of that because I just didn't want to do the military. I was like, I need to do
This
something
wasn't for you.
more. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't for me, but at least I tried it. Right. And then I
Yeah.
fell into running, and then running really taught me a lot of things. Ran my first marathon when I was 18, actually. And I just continue that route. And I find the more I show up for myself and do the workout or do the run or whatever, the more productive the rest of my day is. And the
That's right.
better I feel as a person. I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel good.
That's
I
the thing.
feel like I
Feel good.
want to do this. I want
That's right.
to show up for people. You know, I want to do the work because I had a great workout or, you know, I had a great run, whatever. So I hopefully the audience will take heed about, you know, how important it is to be active every single day. Cause, you know, we have bodies for a reason, right? We have arms, we have two legs, you know? So it's like, we have to get that mindset of actually going outside, going to the gym and whatnot. So I absolutely love that. And I want to go back to your college years. I know you didn't really cover a lot about college. And so I'd love to just get a little more insight on your college experience. Where did you go to school in college? And then what did you learn from college? You said you got an engineering degree. Is that correct?
No, it was
Or no, you
it's
didn't
like
go.
science, yeah,
Oh,
environmental
science.
science and
Oh,
biology.
environmental science. But then you went into marketing. So I'm just curious, like the trajectory or the shift, the pivot, I guess, with, you know, your academics.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest with you.
Okay,
You know,
that's fair.
I went to, you know, kind of you go to college, you're like, okay, when am I going to declare my major? And I feel like a lot of kids nowadays, they know exactly what they want to do, but for
Mm,
me, I didn't know. I was really, honestly, you know, back then I felt, and I feel, I call myself this all the time. I feel like I'm just the dumb jock, right? I just wanted to go and play baseball and, you
right.
know, but, you know, I knew academics was very important. And so, yeah, and I ended up declaring my major my junior year. I was late. I actually had to go back for another year to finish my degrees. But yeah, you know, environmental science. I went to school. I went to a Division II school in West Virginia, and I always loved the environments, so I got into that. And then biology, I've always been connected to, just like the sciences. I've always loved and enjoyed, even in high school, and so, you know, I did that, and obviously baseball, you know, I did the college girlfriend thing too. And, you know,
Right.
but, you know, at the end of the day, it was a fun time. You know, I had
Mm,
some opportunities to go to some bigger schools. But, you know, I ended up going to a smaller school. But, you know, it was still fun. You know, I wouldn't take any of it back. You know, I think college is really an experience you know, I'm not saying it's for everybody, but for me, it was good to be out on your own, you know, no parents, no nothing, and really kind of learn about yourself, right? Kind of,
Mm,
you know, that's really where you come into yourself as an adult.
yeah.
And yeah, it's fun, you party and all that stuff. That's just part of it. But you learn a
Experience.
lot too. You learn a lot too. So yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, just baseball and you know, and that was pretty much it in academics. So I was in
Yeah.
a lot of labs because, you know, sciences, you're in a lot of labs. So
Right.
get a lecture for an hour and then you're in lab for like 3 hours for whatever class you're in, 2 or 3 hours. So it was a
Yeah.
lot, you know, to juggle with practices and you know our schedule during, you know, the season. But you know, we made it happen.
Made it happen. Absolutely love that, Lewis. Thanks for sharing. So do you still play baseball, or how's that going?
No, I played in a couple of wood bat leagues
Okay.
after college. Had some fun with that,
Okay.
but yeah, I kind of hung them up. Yeah. So,
You
and
didn't want to
it's
do
funny, like I have like every year I have a reunion with my college baseball buds. Not all of them, just like a
a few of
handful of
them.
them.
Yeah.
And we
Cool.
get together every year, and it's a lot of fun. So,
Do you guys play a game?
nah, we'll go out every now and again. We'll go out and play some stickball,
Okay. Okay. Sure.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Old
about it.
times. Old
We're all
times.
old
Hey.
now, so
So you can still enjoy the sport. You know, just don't take it so hard. Obviously,
yeah.
since you're older, but don't break something. So professional baseball wasn't in the cards. It sounds like after
Well, I mean,
college.
you know, I think one of the things that I struggle with as
Yeah.
after college, because you know, I excelled in college baseball. I played well. There was no
Yeah.
reason. I mean, so I had like my sophomore year, we had a senior that got drafted, Joe, who's actually one of my good buddies. He got drafted by the White Sox. The next year, Bill
Wow.
Everly was a pitcher. He got drafted by the Dodgers. And then my senior year, you know, I thought I was going to be drafted, and I never got drafted. But
Mm.
yeah, and so that kind of, you know, and I did go down to, I know you're in Florida. I did go down to Florida and do some tryouts with some teams
Oh, cool.
that summer
Yeah.
after college, and I did amazing. I did great.
Yeah.
But you know, again, it's all about networking. Who you know, like if you're not
Mm.
6'4", 220, because back then it was like the Alex Rodriguez is, you know, the
Oh.
6'4" guys that have, you know, kind of have, you know, 220 playing shortstop. I didn't have that stature, right? I was 5'11" and, you know, a buck 80, right? Buck 90. So I just didn't fit the mold. So
Oh, is
so
that it? Okay.
yeah, I
Do
think
you feel
so.
kind of bummed out about that? That you never got
Yeah,
drafted? Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely, like I said, it's a chip on my shoulder that I'll
Yeah.
just carry for the rest of my life. Like,
Hmm.
what if I would have did it this way? What if I went into, like, you know, because I could have went to Virginia Tech, I could have went to JMU, some bigger schools,
Yeah.
played ball, and you know, what if I just would have went there, right, instead of the smaller school that I went to? So you know, I don't know, but yeah, it's tough.
Mhm.
It's a tough pill to swallow at times, but I try not to look back on it anymore. So
No, thanks for sharing. Regardless, I absolutely love that. Yeah, I think you have a walking somebody behind you.
yeah, it's my little man. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. He wants to be in the shot, I guess. That's awesome. I was gonna say I didn't know you needed to be a certain height to play baseball. I thought that was like only a basketball thing. But,
That-
you said you had to be a certain height earlier. You were
Well,
only
I mean,
5'11"?
no, you don't have to be. I mean, unless you're.
Okay.
It's just back then there was. Again, it was like it was the era of like the Alex Rodriguez and the Derek Jeters, and you know there was a
Okay.
certain stature that people, like scouts, were looking at.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I just kind of, you know, I was in the generation or the era. If I would have came in before, or maybe even today, it would have been a lot different. But
Okay. Just that generation you're saying. You didn't fit the mold. You didn't fit the
yeah, I
mold.
didn't fit the mold.
Okay.
Yeah, but the other thing is, like, you know,
Huh.
looking back with my buddy Joe and Bill that got drafted like the 2 years before me, you know, they always had their parents there at the games to network for them and talk to the scouts. I didn't have that. I didn't have any of that. I didn't have, you know,
That's
anybody
interesting.
really
Okay.
shilling and networking and, you know, talking to people.
Right. That plays
So
a
that hurt
huge
me.
role, I guess.
Yeah, that hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurt me. So
Yeah. Well, you had your twin brother. He could have been doing that.
well, honestly, my twin brother was only there for 2 years, and then he
Oh,
actually dropped out of college, and then he started working for Lockheed Martin for, he got lucky
what?
from Virginia Power, and then started working for Lockheed Martin, and the
Wow.
rest is history. The dude just got
Okay.
lucky. I mean, he finished his degree eventually, I think, at George Mason, but yeah,
Wow.
he dropped out because I don't know. I guess he just wanted
Okay.
to party and not really focus. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but
I don't know either. I
it's
thought
different
he
even if
wasn't
you're identical twin.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say I assume he would be good at baseball too, and be there at the games and support you and stuff, or vice versa. But I guess you diverge over time, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're identical, you still have different
Yeah.
activities, different dreams, right? And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
As it should be, right? We're all different people at the end of the day, even though if we do look similar. But yeah, I love that. Yeah, baseball. Yeah, I never really got into that as a sport. I was more into soccer actually. I
Yeah.
was, I was big into soccer back in the day, and then yeah, it's a great sport, great team building sport, and then just transition from soccer into running because I just really didn't. I did a lot of running in soccer, as you can imagine.
Right.
And a
I
lot of
bet.
practice, a lot of running, and that just translated. I was like, I think I'm pretty good at this. I think I could actually just keep doing this. And I didn't really see a life, in soccer at all. I was at a private school, so I just continued doing the running part because I enjoyed that more. And basically, here we are today. Of like I'm doing ultras and marathons now. So it's just that natural progression into something you love over time, and just getting started in high school. So and even in college. So absolutely love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing. So I'd love to hear more about your transition into crypto and different blockchains, because I know that's a big theme of where you're currently at in your journey and how I met you with the Hiney Coin community, right? So take me on a little bit of a walk of your past of how you first started getting into crypto and blockchain technology. What fascinated you? What was something that really opened you up? Because I feel like this is a new beginning for you, right? A new role in getting more into investments, right? Even how volatile these investments can be. So shed me more light about that. Take it away.
Well, I remember I had heard about Bitcoin, I don't know, probably, in the maybe 2014, 13. I don't know when. I don't even know when. I heard about Bitcoin. I just kind of blew it off. I didn't really
Right.
think anything of it.
It was a scam. Right.
Um, and then I started hearing more and more about all these other tokens. And it was in 2017. I remember being at a bar with a bunch of buddies here in Virginia Beach. I think we were at CP Shuckers, I want to say. And we're just hanging out, and somebody said that they had just bought some Litecoin. And I was like, Litecoin, what is that? And so,
Yeah.
I knew what it was, but I was just like, hey, let me look at it. And
Hmm.
and uh, and so that day, I took out my credit card, and I had a Coinbase account, I think, at the time, and I bought
Wow.
some Litecoin, and that was my first purchase. And then I really started kind of learning about just the different chains and what they do, what blockchain really is, what it means, getting an understanding of just what decentralization means. And so I really got into hooked on XRP, because
Really?
it just resonated with me so much, like the cross
Cool.
payment, and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I follow this guy, digital asset investor, who's a big XRP guy. He's a big influencer. He's on X
Hmm.
and YouTube, and he's still out there too. But yeah, so I got into XRP really big. I didn't really get into Bitcoin. I got in, like I said, Litecoin, and a handful of others. It
Okay.
was kind of at the, there's like ICOs and, DeFi, over the next couple of years. And I fiddled around with that. I kind of come in and come out, but I was always DCAing XRP. So I was buying a shit
Mm,
ton of XRP, like pennies on the dollar back then. So I built a pretty big bag over the
yeah.
last 5, 7, 8 years. And
Amazing.
yeah, so that was my big kind of, I was like an XRP. I wasn't necessarily a maxi, because I did get into some of the DeFi stuff, like on Avalanche, and messed around there, got burnt, so, lost a lot of money just trying to get into these DeFi protocols. Obviously, like Terra Luna, and some of these other things that went under. I got hurt by, but I just kind of learned, and I come in and out. I never really got into X or Twitter back then, or social media. And then this whole meme coin season took place like, a couple years ago, right? It started really kind of taking off. Obviously, Dogecoin was the first one, and then she
Mm,
Pepe, and some of these other ones. And I didn't really get into it much.
okay.
I did buy some Dogecoin. I think I sold it like after like holding it for like a month or something. I bought some Shiba Inu too, right? But
Yeah.
just wasn't that convicted on it. And
Mm,
then that whole kind of meme coin pump fund came out, and that it really started taking off, right? It really started
right.
taking off, and then I started paying more attention to it, and I kind of got back into it. And then that's when I started to get on X, and I started kind of, just following different projects and communities. And man,
Yeah.
I got burned by so many projects and
I
communities. And
bet. What year was this?
this is probably 2 years ago when I
Oh,
really got back into it, like at the height,
2023. Okay.
yeah, 2020,
2024. Okay.
yeah, 2024
I could see that.
is when I got into it really heavy.
Okay. Yep.
And I got extracted every time I'd put money into this, I'd put money into that.
Yeah. And then it rugged, right? Drop.
It would rug. Yeah, I was just so frustrated by it.
Yeah.
And and I made some money. Don't get me wrong. Like I started learning how to snipe and use some bots like
Mm,
Trojan and some of the others, and getting
yeah.
in there, and Photon and GMGN, and then obviously Axiom came out, and
Mm,
so I started using those tools and figuring out filters and how to like try to snipe, and I made some money. But at the end of the day, it was all like cabals, and you really had to be in to make a
mm-hmm.
shit ton of money and do it right. But
Yeah.
I didn't feel good about it because I just felt like you're just extracting from people. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
right way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and so, after Trump coin in January, I got burned like on another thing, and then I just like, screw it. I'm just going to start my own project, and I don't know anything about starting a project or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. March of, or yeah, I guess March, April of 2025 is when we started Hiney Coin.
Oh, last year. Okay.
Yeah,
It's been
the
a
last,
year anniversary
yeah,
recently.
it's been actually April 6th was the first X
Anniversary.
post
Okay.
from the Hiney Coin account.
So just a few days ago.
A few days.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
are still here.
And we're still here. Yeah, we're still alive.
Hanging on with the
Yeah,
thread.
we're hanging on, but we've been through a lot. That's for sure. We've been through a lot.
Yeah.
But
No, that's
yeah.
awesome. That's so good to hear. No. And what has running your own project as a founder for the last year has taught you?
Well, it's taught me a lot. I mean, and what I'll do is I'll write like a big article about my experiences in the first year of Honeycoin.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. But I think the biggest thing out here is you really got to understand the technical side of the house behind everything, like your tokenomics, and
Mm-hmm.
what is your purpose, what is your mission from kind of a business standpoint. And I
Mm.
always knew that we needed to have a community. I always said, hey, we need a community that is built on integrity, transparency, just a value system in place, because that was really missing, at least for me with my experiences. And just because it was just very cutthroat. People were extracting rug pulls, pump and dump. I mean, you're basically stealing from people.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are we doing this? We have this amazing technology with blockchain, and there's a lot of bright and brilliant people out here. Let's just do this the right way. And so that was always kind of the common denominator when we kind of rolled out the project, like saying, hey, this is what we're going to stick to, and build a community organically. So that's what we did. And we launched our token in May 22nd or 23rd.
Okay.
And I just kind of launched the token, and I didn't know where it was going to go, but it ended up 6 million market cap, right?
Wow. You launched it on Pump Fund, or where did you launch it?
Well, here's the thing. I initially launched a token on Pump Fund.
Okay.
And I got rugged by the person I was working with. So I met somebody from Germany. Well, he says he was from Germany. And because I didn't know how to do, I was trying to like feel out.
You didn't know.
And how to launch and all this stuff. And,
Right.
I wanted to do it the right way. So he was
Yeah.
kind of walking me through all these things. And then, I started, we started it on Pump Fund. And then he's like, okay, now send your Solana to this wallet, and then we'll figure it out. And so as soon as I sent like 14 Solanas, 14 Sol, and it was $1,500 or something like that at the time, maybe $1,600. And yeah, and then he hung up. Like, I heard the phone hang up, and I was just like, this guy just rugged me. And sure enough, I saw a big red candle. I mean, you can go back to it. I mean, I have all,
I believe
the
you. I believe
token's
you.
still out there on Pump Fund. You can see it. And
What's it
so
called?
it's Hiney coin. It's
Oh,
still,
the first Hiney. Okay.
yeah, it was the
Okay.
first Hiney coin. Yeah. So,
Okay. Okay.
so we basically scratched it. We said, okay, we're pulling this back. We're shutting it down. We're not going to like get it out there. And so, yeah, I shut it down, and I was like, look, I need to reevaluate this. I'm not going to do it this way. I don't want to do it on Pump Fund. I don't want to be another stupid meme coin. And so I ended up, kind of reevaluating, and then we ended up launching on Radium, because back then Radium didn't have a launch pad. It was basically when you would bond on Pump Fund, it would actually bond through Radium. Okay.
Oh,
And then basically Pump Fund came out with their, Pump like launch pad. So they didn't need Radium anymore. Right. So Radium was like, okay, well, we're gonna create our own too. And so they created a launch, I think Launch Lab is the name of their launch platform. And so that's what I used to launch the token.
Okay.
And then, we haven't looked back. So yeah. So anyways, interesting. But yeah, I mean, going back to your question,
yeah,
I think the biggest thing is, understanding all the kind of technical aspects. And then the biggest thing is, trusting only yourself, because, I had a lot of people coming at me. Hey, I want to help you here. I want to help you there. I got extracted so many times. I got scammed so many times. And it became this kind of reoccurring theme. And then finally, I was doing some. I'm not a shiller. I'm not that type of guy that gets up in spaces and shills. I've just never been that person.
Yeah.
But I was doing a lot of AMAs, and at the time, and I was in some big influencer. I think his name is Crypto Z. I think he a different name now, but yeah, I mean, he has a big, he's like a hype guy. And I was in there doing an AMA, and there were a few guys that, basically approached me and said, hey, I think we could do this another way. We could do it the right way. And so, I kind of, we worked out an agreement, and they became part of the leadership. And it was good. It was good at first, right? I mean, they were great, and they helped kind of hype and, push the token and all these things. But at the end of the day, they weren't very committed. They weren't convicted. And again, so, those folks ended up, all of them are pretty much gone. I mean, there's still a handful, right? Like, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott, and, Steph, who's our TNA guy.
Yep.
We got Alicia and AIM, who's a Dojo Dogs, and KO, our NFT artists. We got a handful of folks still left, but the others are gone, right? I mean, and it didn't end well. It didn't end well at all, right? And it was just in the beginning of this year, we got hit by, our staking infrastructure was hit, and
you're telling me about that.
we just got hit like a week ago about it.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, all the stake wallets over. And so I think that was like an inside job. I think there's a developer or something out there that probably did something. Yeah,
Gotta be
private key or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about just trusting yourself. That's really what it comes down to. And surrounding yourself with you got to surround yourself with people that are convicted and believe and that are committed. And, but it's hard. It's hard because you can't it's not sustainable to pay people, when you're not bringing in revenue, right? It's just not sustainable. And we haven't been successful in bringing in enough revenue to pay for everybody. So, we're working through some things right now, but yeah, it's been tough. Like beginning of the year was tough. Like, we were, again, we got to 6 million market cap. The market went to shit, 10, hurt everybody. But, in January, we were still at like 2.5 million market cap.
That's not bad. It's really
not. One of our investors' wallets was compromised, and we lost like, $75,000, right? And so our token was liquidated. And
great time to buy.
Yeah, we're great time to buy, but it just creates this this unfortunate,
I
negative
know.
sentiment, and it's hard
Yeah.
to dig back out. So that's where we're at today.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in talking more about trust, who to trust in the space, who to trust in crypto, you said, you can only trust yourself, but you need people too. You need a community. So how do you find that balance, or how do you find that line of trusting people to be a part of your community to actually drive a token forward? Like, how do you answer that?
Well, I think you kind of said it earlier, right? It's about it's patience and discipline
Mm,
and time. Really, it's time, right? People have
yeah.
to prove themselves. You have to, I mean, it's like anything in life, right? It takes time to earn trust, right? And build relationships. It just
Right.
does. You can't just like meet somebody and expect to be like, oh yeah, I trust this guy. I trust this person. Because there's a lot of smooth operators out here, and they're just social engineering the hell out of you.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of that takes place. And so, so my point is, it takes time. It really,
Yeah.
don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush to do something. Take your time.
Yeah.
And I get it, because Web3 is moving 100 miles an hour. Everyone wants this then and right now and,
Right.
yesterday, right? But
Right.
don't rush it. Take your time, and
Mm,
especially with the relationships. You got to build the trust. They've got to earn it. They got to prove to you, the community, that they are committed and they have the belief and conviction on what you're trying to do. And so now we have those people with us, and but ultimately at the end of the day, you still just you can only trust yourself until then. So
yeah. Definitely. Definitely. No, those are great wise words, lessons that we can all, take and use and build upon as well, because as much as we want to prove that crypto is this like trustless system, right, that we can rely just not on ourselves but on the people around us, our community, it's still really hard to trust people. It's still
it
really
is.
hard to trust even these tokens, these certain blockchains, to follow
Yeah,
through, and then the people behind the projects, like a lot of them aren't even doxxed. A lot of them, they're just like trying to, like you said before, just liquidate people and social engineer people, persuade them to do some things that they unknowingly are doing, and then they just extract, right? And I've always been with the philosophy of building something with conviction, building something long term, and having that patience. And I've noticed too, I want to go back to patience, because I definitely feel like a lot of people, they don't have patience. And you can tell too when you're working with certain people too, of like, oh, buy this now. Like when you're talking to a salesperson, right? Or like, just take your time, look over the guide, look over the order, and do what you think is best. Of like, if you want this, you're gonna buy it essentially, right? And then if you're not, then you're not my customer at the end of the day. And
yeah,
so it's like, it comes down to the needs of your audience, the needs of your buyer, and if they resonate with what you're selling them. Because at the end of the day, we're all selling something, right? We're all selling a story to each other, and this story translates into our project, right, into our meme coin, our NFTs, our platform that we're trying to get people to use, and drive an audience towards something that's more meaningful, and something that they see that value in. And so I wanted to get more into the Hiney coin philosophy about education, because
yeah.
this is something that you're very passionate about, educating people on Web3. So why don't you share me more about the education component with Hiney coin?
Yeah, and I think just to kind of piggyback on
Yeah.
what you were saying, right? So that, yeah, and we're all been guilty of this, right? Where especially this whole meme thing, right? Where people are just trying to make a quick buck, get in, get
Mm,
out, and
yeah.
that's fine, right? But that is a casino mentality, right? You're going to the casino, and more than likely the house is going to win, and so that's not a sustainable approach out here, right?
Mm,
It's just not. And I get it, right? Instant gratification is an unfortunate thing,
yeah.
especially in this world that we live in today. But we've got to take a step back. We got to zoom out and say, hey, what am I really doing to build wealth? What am I really do? What is my purpose? What is my mission out here, right?
Mm,
And my purpose and mission is not to make a quick buck. Yeah, we all want to make money. That's ultimately why we're here. But build wealth the right way, do it the right way, not doing it in a casino way, right?
yeah.
So and
Sustainable.
Exactly. You got to be sustainable. Otherwise, you're going to crash out. You're going to lose a lot. And you see it
Yeah.
all the time. And so, that really is what, I think had us evolve into more of an education type of community project, if you will, right? We were like, okay, let's take a step back. We have an opportunity here to really empower people and do it the right way. Now I'm sure there's other projects out there that are doing education and, they do it great, and there's apps out there and stuff. But I just said we need to do this, and we need to do it outside of this whole echo chamber that we're in here with crypto Twitter, right? Where we do it, we have our spaces every day, like multiple spaces on a daily basis. We have our Hineyversity, which is the YouTube long form and short form videos. We do our Create to Earn program, which is Hiney Clips. So we reward creators based on a topic of the week, and it's all well and good. I love it, but at the end of the day, it's about bringing people into this world that the world is moving to, the retailers, the normies, right? The people, your neighbors, your family members, your people you see at church or at the grocery store. They know about crypto. They've heard about it. They're curious, but they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know what the
Mhm.
difference is between a DEX or, a central exchange, or what swapping is, how to transact. They don't know any of that stuff. And quite frankly, none of us really want to get into the bits and bytes of all that. We just want something to work and know that, hey, if I'm going to invest in something, I'm going to have a return on it. And I understand that this technology is going to be maybe, the future. So that's where we've got to really focus on is trying to get people into this space, but do it the right way. And, because like I said, we've been extracted from many times, and my wife looks at me, she's like, why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing it? And here's my reason. I mean, obviously it's the people in the community, the,
Yeah.
the network and the connections I've made that keeps me coming back. But ultimately it's because I don't want, my neighbor or my family member to get hurt when this does become more mainstream. Now, because
Mm.
you guys see it, the financial institution adoption, the governments, you see the ETFs, you see,
Mhm.
the Stable Coin Act, the
Yeah.
Genius
Genius
Act,
Clarity Act. Yeah.
and you're starting to see a lot of these kind of guardrails come into play. Now, that's a little
Mhm.
bit of a paradox because it's like, okay, is that truly decentralized?
Right.
Okay, we can get into that, but at the same time, if this is really going to be more of a mainstream thing, well, we got to put guardrails around it so it's
Mhm.
not the wild, wild west and people get hurt. So
Yeah.
ultimately is I want to make sure we onboard people the right way. We give people an opportunity to learn and ask questions, which is why we have our daily spaces, and then provide content right on YouTube and some of the other things that we do. So yeah, that's ultimately what we were trying to do. It's a big focus for us. That's a big, kind of mission item. And we'll continue to do that. So, and we're doing some other things behind the scenes to kind of, expand what we're doing there on the education side of the house. But we're also getting into some of the real world stuff too. But
Oh, cool.
I don't want to come out too much with it.
No, 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 you're fine. I
Yeah,
don't want you
yeah,
to
yeah.
spoil the surprise.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another lesson learned is I felt like
Yeah.
I was almost being too transparent with everything that I was
Oh,
doing.
yeah.
I have like a weekly. We do what I call a State of the Union, where I talk about everything that's going on with the project,
Hmm.
and I feel like sometimes, we were disclosing a little bit too much information. And again, there's people out there that will take that IP and do their own thing with it, and so we've got to be careful and aware and have that kind of extra vigilance, if you will, about that stuff. So but yeah, we've got some stuff going on behind the scenes in the real world utility standpoint. So just know that that's also taking place.
That's exciting. Yeah, and I was actually I have a few more questions
Yeah,
and then we'll kind of wind down here if you don't
sure.
mind. But yeah, I was just curious, like on the future of Coin, your project, I know, I assume you guys have a roadmap, where you guys are headed a little bit. I know roadmaps are more like guardrails. Doesn't mean it's going to exactly happen on the time in the roadmap. However, it's always good to have some type of plan. That's what I always find within any business, right? Business
Yeah.
proposal, plan, project, whatever. So I'd love to hear more about, the roadmap that you have in place within your community, how you're reaching those goals, and what we're seeing on the horizon with Coin. If you can share a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, we had a roadmap that we actually put together. So we incorporated as a business here in the state of Virginia back
Well,
in September of 2025. So I actually created an S corporation
wow.
um, because I was having a lot of conversations with investors. We actually had some investors. One of the investors got compromised, and we lost a lot of money. But that's a different story. But yeah,
Okay.
so we've had investors talk to us about because at the end of the day, you've got to be able to raise capital to
Yeah.
do a lot of these projects. It's not cheap. I don't want to disclose how much I've put into this, but like I told you, I had a huge bag of XRP. Well, that XRP bag is no longer. I've got a little bit left, but it
Yeah.
that's exhausted, and I did close out a lot of it, like at like maybe $2.50.
Oh,
Yeah. So I made
wow.
some good money, but
Good.
most of that is gone, right? It was put into the project,
Right.
and to see it, the extraction and things that took place is devastating, especially for
Yeah.
it's one thing for me to lose the capital and the money and the investment, but it's like when I see my family and my friends, they're like, "Hey, what's going on with the token? What happened?" That's where it really hurts
That
me.
hurts.
So
Yeah.
it's my mission to, I'm slowly buying back the chart because I think it's the right thing to do.
Right.
um, and then, yeah, it's just from a roadmap standpoint, it's changed. It's changed dramatically since last year. I mean, October 1010 really crushed everything. There's just no liquidity out there like there used to be, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously, it was a double whammy in January when we got hit,
Yeah.
and so it really kind of set things back. But I feel like now things are kind of picking back up.
Mm-hmm. I've
We've
been
got we've
noticing
got
that.
our because we've got an NFT collection. We've got the
Oh,
token. I got
okay.
to move the staking infrastructure over, but we got merch. We got all these kind of nice things
Yeah.
that you would expect for a community to have. But from a roadmap standpoint, like we're building out a secondary marketplace for the NFTs. So that's already been on the roadmap. We're actually in pilot testing mode right now. So that's going to be coming soon. We're also working on revamping a lot of our, just our IP, just kind of rebranding and refreshing some of our, like our website, like building out some D apps. I've been doing a lot of vibe coding lately.
Mm,
Code is like one of my best friends.
cool.
So I've been doing a lot of vibe coding and just building out some D apps for things that we're looking to push here soon. And then, like I said, from a real world utility standpoint, there's some things that we're doing in the surf, skate, and beach volleyball verticals.
Mm,
Then also the diaper industry. Now, I know it sounds kind of silly, but Hiney
that's
coin
a
diaper
curveball.
kind of goes.
Makes sense. It actually
Yeah,
does make sense. Makes a whole
yeah.
lot of sense.
So
Got to
yeah,
get those babies protected.
those babies, but it's really about the donor. So think about families that can't afford, that have kids or
Yeah,
babies, and diapers are expensive. It's a
they
huge
are.
expense.
They are.
And so I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there are diaper banks across every town, every state,
Didn't know
uh,
that.
where
Cool.
people can
Huh.
donate diapers.
Oh,
So the less fortunate can come and get diapers for their kids.
cool.
So what I want to do is I want to incentivize the donors with Heine token,
Mm,
and get them more on Web3, because I've looked at a lot of these like websites and the way that they operate, and it's very old school. It's very, because it's mom and pop shop, mom and pop shop.
oh, yeah.
They're not very technical.
They're not modern.
That's not very modernized. So let's
Gotcha.
let's let's get them on
Huh.
chain. Let's figure out a way to
Yeah,
do it on chain. So I'm
I
working
love
with
that.
doing some of that behind the scenes. There's also some more education stuff we're doing, branching out to the younger generation. Because again,
Mm,
remember, growing up, we didn't know how did you learn how to like balance a checkbook, or did you know about investing, right? Did you know what DCA was? Did you know about any of these terms?
right.
I didn't, quite frankly, I didn't learn until I was like in my 30s, right? I mean, I heard of them, but I didn't really learn much about it. Like, what is the beauty of, what does compounding interest versus simple interest mean? Like, the
Mm,
beauty of that, right? Just so I want to make sure we educate people, but not just people like you and me, the younger, like the kids, like the kids.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so there's some
Actual
things
kids.
we're doing there too. Yeah, so there's some things
Yeah.
there too.
I
So
was thinking you should just hit up schools. Be like, hey, we're doing an educational seminar about crypto. You guys
yeah,
want in, you know, and just
yeah,
start hitting up the public schools, getting them involved. And I'm
yeah,
sure they'd be welcoming, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
do like a whole seminar, do a tour of all the different schools around your area. You know, people could do that on any projects.
yeah,
Doesn't matter which blockchain
yeah.
you're on. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that would be great. You know, crypto education. We definitely need more of that. And I
yeah,
think that's really cool that you're doing the diapers too, actually. Like
yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
funny.
We're just trying to solve like a real problem, but it's like it works, right? Because it's
Yeah.
in diapers is like perfect. Uh,
Yeah. I
but
love
it's
that.
yeah. So
It'd be
anyway,
great if you can get a QR code on the diapers where you scan it and then goes
right.
to the Honeycoin
It goes
website where
it
you
goes the
can
Hiney website. Well,
see.
so here's the thing. You say that because I've reached out to Pampers. I've reached
Yeah.
out to like these big diaper brands to see if,
Yeah.
hey, are you guys interested in partnerships? I only heard back
Yeah.
from Pampers, and then they didn't. But they still haven't gotten back to me. They said, hey, we got your request, and we get back to you, and they still haven't gotten back to me. But I just think we gotta, there's like
Yeah.
things like that. Like, how do we get in front of like
You got to
these?
talk to the right
Yeah,
people. You got
it's
to
all
talk to the
about
right
networking,
people.
right? It's all
Networking.
about connections and
This is
all
why
that
I go
stuff.
to crypto conferences, right? This is why I'm going to
Right.
be in Vegas in a few weeks, right? It's just all it is networking, getting your face out there, getting that discussion made, and then follow-ups too, I find, right?
Yeah.
Doing the follow-ups right after, and then building that rapport of like, hey, let's partner, let's do something together. You know, we can work together, let's collaborate. So I just
Yep.
wish, are there like diaper seminars or diaper conferences? Like, is that a thing? Like with different
I haven't seen that, but there is a national diaper organization that
Okay.
that gets funding
Okay.
by the government, the federal government. Now I looked at
What?
their books. They're a nonprofit organization. I
Huh.
did their books, but they don't. It's not as much money as I thought
Hmm.
get, given that this is a big challenge for people in
Okay.
the country and all over the world, really. So, anyways,
Honestly, you could white label your own diaper. It's probably not that hard, and get
yeah,
Hiney on it, and then have your own e-commerce store like I'm doing with Hydro Rush. And come on, like
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
not that hard. It's just like getting
right.
it out there.
Just
I
getting it
think,
out there.
yeah,
Yeah,
breaking through the noise, doing some ads, especially Facebook. I even heard Facebook ads are huge still. Like people
yeah.
need to leverage Facebook more.
Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, but other to say that this has been such a great experience with you, Lewis. I get to know, well, I know you a lot better now after this hour, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and to share your story with me. It means a lot. Where can is there anything else, any other information that you wanted to share that we didn't talk about yet that you wanted to go over before we end the interview, or?
No, I would just
Okay.
say, hey, if you're out there and you're looking at this video, make sure you go to our YouTube channel, subscribe,
Yep.
jump in one of our X spaces, right? Come in and just kind of learn and, come up and ask a question or introduce yourself. We're always open to, getting new people in the community. Yeah, and that's really it, right? And if you know anybody that wants to buy a bag of Heine, let me know. But,
Well,
no,
I'm gonna buy a bag of Hiney for sure, because
do it. Yeah,
I really support your mission, your education. I think I told you for our Catter Days, I'm gonna be doing giveaways of Hiney. So I don't
yeah,
know if you wanted to
good.
contribute of that. So
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
I want
yeah.
people to get to know your community more and to get to know you or even part of your team. So yeah, if one of your teammates can come to the Catter Day, we could do
Yeah.
like a mini AMA since you're gonna be the sponsor of the Catter Day space. So
Okay.
yeah, so I just like you're a big part of Crypto Fam Radio now, so I want to treat you as such, obviously.
Okay.
So but besides that, yeah, where can people find you? You said X, right? YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. It's always at
Honeycoin.
Honeycoin. It's
Okay,
at Honeycoin.
at
We have
Honeycoin.
Instagram. We have
Oh,
Facebook.
Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook.
we have Facebook. We're trying to work on the TikTok.
I can help you with that. All right,
Yeah,
I
maybe
got
you
you.
can help me. Yeah, there you go.
I'm
Perfect.
I'm getting to be more of a TikTok whiz over the past few months since I lost my X account. I had to pivot to TikTok, and I actually grinded on that account, Crypto Fam Radio, for a good month, and I got from 0 followers to 2,200 followers now standing. So
Wow.
I think we can definitely work on the Hiney Coin TikTok as well. So definitely, if you don't have your handle created yet, Hiney Coin, do that on TikTok, and I'm more than happy to start doing shout outs and getting you guys followers. And, you know, it's all just about consistency. That's what I find with a lot of these platforms. Just consistently creating content, consistently showing up to the lives, doing the lives, or delegating it out to one of your teammates to do a daily live and to share what the Hiney coin is all about and what you guys' mission is and your vision, I think is really huge. So, but to say all that, you know, it's just telling a story, right? And marketing, right? So, and telling something that resonates with your audience to get them to act, right? Always end with that CTA.
That's right.
But anyway, so thank you so much again, Louis. This has been such an amazing experience. Enjoy the rest of your Friday too, man. It looks like it's beautiful weather, very sunny, and a little. Actually, I'm not jealous. It's super sunny right now in Florida. So I'm gonna go touch some grass. I'm gonna go walk my cat now. But you enjoy the rest of your Friday, and hope to see you or one of your teammates tomorrow for a Catterday space. So take care, Louis. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank Hiney. It's Friday. That's THIF. That's what we say. So
there we go. Let's go. All right. Take care, man.
All right. Take care, man.